Coming up on this episode of In Your Mind.
When you rest, you give your body and your mind opportunity to clarify. So don't be afraid to rest. So the advice I give people when you're on your mission, your movement, whatever it might be, don't be afraid to rest. Keep your goal to where it is. Don't alter your goal. Alter how you get there.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with your host, me, Paul Trudell-Payne. And I want you guys to help welcome Rick to the show. Rick, how are you?
Doing terrific, Paul. Thanks for having me on your show, and hello to your viewers.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming all the way from Canada, yeah?
Toronto, Canada, eh?
Love it. I love it. So how's everything up there? How's the weather? How's Toronto?
We've been in a heat wave. We've had over 90-degree temperatures for the last 9 days, so very hot and humid up here, but no complaints. We're loving it.
What is it normally like?
Usually similar in the month of July, maybe not quite this hot for the entire month, but people don't understand a lot of times if you haven't traveled to this region of Canada that we get those swings. We are generally for the summer hotter than LA for most of the summer for July and August, and then of course we plummet in those December, January months. But yeah, we get a real fluctuation up here. So
I love it. And you travel, though, in the States quite often, yes?
yeah, definitely through North America and actually globally. When I spent over 25 years as a national manager for a couple of different companies here, that was my career in sales and really in leadership at the end of the day.
I love it. Well, before we get too carried away in the sales and leadership, we are going to start with the same question we start with everybody. So I like all the time for our guests to really get a solid idea of who you are. And I think it always has to start at the beginning. So I would love to know a little bit about Rick as a child.
Rick as a child, wow. Interesting question. Born and raised here in Toronto, extensively traveled, but always lived within the greater Toronto area. I grew up in a household which was very much middle class, great mom and dad. I have an older brother and an older sister than me, so there were the three of us. I had somebody once refer to my family upbringing and so on as the Cleavers. So if people understand that reference, very much. I had a good upbringing. I'm not one who gets on stages publicly when I keynote speak and take people down a very horrible upbringing past. That wasn't me. I must say I'm pretty fortunate that way, very middle class. Fortunate to have my mom and dad still with us in the house that I grew up in. So I still go back to visit. They're in their 80s, brilliant, and, they're doing great. And a little bit, hiding from COVID right now, which is fine because we want them safe. But no, that's what I grew up in, that type of household. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. I came home from school every day to eat lunch there, so that was really my upbringing. Not that I didn't have challenges like anybody growing up, in different scenarios. Bullying and things like that all went on back then too in a different format. It wasn't electronic, it was to your face, which they say isn't as scary, but any of it's scary. So we all went through that, in growing up. And I had good friends. Made a major shift in friendships around grade 9 when I went into high school, because a lot of my close-knit friends went in a direction I didn't want to go in. And that's specifically talking about drugs and alcohol at the time. And they got into that and I didn't. So I went a stint without friends, which was a little bit lonely, and then connected with people that are still in my circle now, this many years later. Growing up, sports and activity was a big influence on me. You really enjoyed the sports. Always tried to play with the bigger boys because my brother's 6 years older than me. So I was always reaching to try and be with the big guys and play sports like that. So that was a big upbringing for me. And I'm now still enjoy coaching and sports and the benefits that they bring to people and the team play. Interesting, middle class, lower middle class, not a lot of money for everything new all the time. So got very handy. Understood how to fix things. I think because I broke them to start with, because I was curious. But no, so I fixed things. And when it came time for a bicycle when I was 12, we didn't have the money, but Dad brought me home some old bicycle. I took the time to strip it down, rebuild it, paint it. I had a paper route, and I delivered paper to get money for the paint and the new tires. And I would create my own solutions to things that other people would just go spend money on, which I'm very grateful for today, because it really gave me a mental state that allows me to take on challenges and fix things. So that's been carried through my entire life as well. Went through high school, did a lot of sports, not enough academia. But then when I got out, focused on school quite a bit. I'm actually an engineer by trade. That's my degree.
Yeah,
So
you need a lot of school for that.
so yeah, that's a bit of background. People look at me and go, wait a minute, you write books, you're a speaker, you're an entrepreneur and a coach. You're an engineer? That doesn't jive. So I didn't actually last long in that area. And then I moved on to sales and business. And that's where I spent my career as well, which is much more relationship based. And relationships are very important to me. So I hope I haven't bored you and I've gone back a little bit.
No, that was like the most succinct telling I've ever heard. It was perfect. I mean, you got us up to date. I love that.
All right, good.
What, I guess my first question for you, as far as this goes, what sports did you play?
Oh, good question. Good Canadian boy, so hockey, ice
I thought
hockey.
so. Okay.
I spent all my time on the ice, on any ice I could get, the frozen tennis courts in the winter as well, and playing a whole bunch of hockey like that, and had the opportunity to play some good level of hockey, have some good coaching. My dad actually coached me for a period of time as well. And up till I was about 15, I played with some really good players. I had 6 buddies that went professional. So I never did. I didn't have what they did, but it was a good level. So there's a lot of learnings in that as well. And then in high school, just dabbled in everything I could. I did a bit of track and field. I played some football. I played some rugby. Tried gymnastics, I think, in grade 9, but really wasn't.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I liked the variety of it. Whatever I could play, I jumped into. Like the team sports.
And your mom stayed home. What did your dad do?
Oh, so my dad was in the automotive business, worked at dealerships. So he was a parts manager.
Mm.
Yeah, he was a parts manager, and he did that, most of his life. He started when he was about 19, doing that, and then retired from that. It was interesting when I look back and I talk about reinventing yourself in my book. My dad did a little bit of that. He actually left that particular profession, made a side shift to another one before he retired for a few years, which wasn't easy back then because a lot of people did the same job for decades, right?
Mm.
Without any change. We're not expected to be that way now. So no, I'd be out playing road hockey and things. Dad would come home at 5:30 every day. We'd go inside. We'd have dinner together, and that was really the family type of dynamic that we had.
Wow, that's awesome. And your siblings, what did they grow up to do?
Okay, so my older sister Lisa, she's 3 years older than me. She's got a great family. Actually, my parents have 7 grandkids, and they're all within about 5 years of each other. So we all, I'll tell you a bit that I've got. Yeah. So Lisa was in banking for a period of time, and now she does marketing. So that's what she took a little break too and raised her kids for several years. And my older brother Larry is actually in sales. So we had that in common for the longest time as well. In selling, he's always been in the food and beverage industry, whereas I was in the automation industry. So a little bit different.
Do you guys all live in Toronto?
You know what? We're all about half hour apart, and we still get along for the most part, which is great. Together, our mom and dads and the grandkids get along too. It's really a good dynamic. Even though we've had lots of challenges through our lives, like anybody else, I really give my parents credit for that, for instilling the family values in us. And I know they're very gracious to still be in touch. But they're in their 80s, and they Skype with their grandkids. I'll find things out about my kids through my parents.
That's crazy.
So just to share on that note, I've got 2 boys that are in their 20s, and they're both graduated. In fact, my older one, Max and Evan are their names, and Max just graduated with his 2nd degree, and this is a master's degree in social work. So,
man, social work.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He likes helping others, and he's very good at it as well.
And then your other son also graduated?
Yeah, so Evan took a different track to get to school. He went to university, your college equivalency, up here for a period of time, but he wasn't focused. He was playing hockey. He was 2 steps away from playing pro hockey, and then unfortunately back-to-back concussions put him out of the sport permanently. And along with that came some challenging times for 1.5 to 2 years of depression and anxiety. So we've experienced a little bit of that along our road too. Now, to his credit, he came back. He did a course which is Sports Media College, and he's actually now still in the sports area and works for the TSN, which is like ESPN.
Wow.
That's in
Yeah.
the States. And he puts together all those video reels and information and things for the announcers to share. So that's what he does. So it's been an interesting journey for him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys have a great family.
It's a good family, not without its challenges, as any family is. We had a lot of challenges through the teenage years and things like most do. But, you stick together somehow through it all. And yeah, we're still in constant contact with each other, and it's good.
So, Rick, tell me, what inspired Reinvent Yourself?
Good question. I came to a point where 3.5 years ago where I left corporate world, and I left it because I didn't feel I was having a great enough impact on enough people. I finally found my purpose was really to help people be their absolute best. And I kid around a little scenario like you see behind me, punch through their growth ceilings. That's, me from a boxing event, because my philanthropy side of me has me raising funds and awareness for cancer, to fight cancer. So I do charity bouts and so on like that, although they're real fights. But you know what? I figured out, Paul, that I've got a bit of a formula for successful change and transition. So I put my engineering hat on, came up with this formula for people and organizations because of my consulting side of business, and said, boy, you better share that. You got an obligation to share that with others if it helps them. And so I put together the book, and I put together a whole bunch of stories in the book of my reinventions and transformations and change as well, and what I've gone through on a personal level, a career level. And that's really why I created the book, so that I would have that to put in other people's hands to help them. And people say, well, okay, it's a book. How does it help them? Well, inside the book here, I didn't find a page, but there's all sorts of exercises as well. This becomes a blueprint for you. I don't know if you can see that, but there's exercises. You can learn from this. And while you're creating whatever plan it is, because everybody's either got a mess they're cleaning up, a mission they're on, or a movement of some sort, well, let's create that plan. Let's not just hear, well, this is how Rick did it, and it was all great. And it's not all great. I got stories in there that aren't so great, just so people know that I'm human and real too, that everything doesn't go smoothly, but here's how we're going to get through it. Here's how you can learn from my experiences so that you don't go through the same difficulties or mistakes that I did. Why not learn from each other? So that's why I put the book together and got it out there. And I hope people enjoy reading it and it helps them. So
when you made this transition from corporate to, entrepreneur, consultant, coach, speaker, how was it for you? How was that initial transition?
Well, there were learnings in that too, which are in the book, because, you think it's going to go one way and it doesn't, just like life. At some point in time, you think, wow, I got my life all planned out. And having a plan is essential and good, but being flexible to the plan to get to where you want to go is most important. That's the most important thing. A Harvard-trained psychologist, Jimmy Kang, mentions in a book that she wrote and so on, that the one skill that's most important that she found when she talked to happy people in their lives was adaptability. Adaptability. If we can adapt and be adaptable, we'll be happy. So that's something that I share in the book as well with people. It's really important to be able to adapt.
And what would you say is your personal, I guess, best tip to adapt?
Very good question. I like that. And I'm one who really likes to set a plan in place and then go for it. The adaptability piece for me is to be flexible. Don't change your end goal. Your end goal shouldn't change, because it got difficult or there are other factors. No, you created something for yourself that you want to get to. You envisioned where you want to be. Don't change that. Be flexible so that you can get to it. You know, in the book, I talk about the fact that there's nothing wrong with taking a rest. You know, there's nothing wrong with resting. Don't stop. But taking a break and taking a rest is okay. Just keep on track with your goal. And if the universe throws you something that you didn't anticipate, adapt to it. Be flexible with it. Roll with it. Figure out why it came your way. Learn from it and stay on your direction. Look, you know, it's like a huge staircase that we're climbing. And at the top is where we want to get to. Well, how do you do that? You take one step at a time. Just one step, that's all. And if you get tired partway up, rest. You know, when I started training for these fights, literal fights and boxing and so on, that's just been within the last couple of years. It's not like when I was 30 or 20 or even 40. So on occasion, did I have to rest? Yeah, I did. But here's the interesting part. When you rest, you give your body and your mind opportunity to clarify. So don't be afraid to rest. So the advice I give people when you're on your mission, your movement, whatever it might be, don't be afraid to rest. Keep your goal to where it is. Don't alter your goal. Alter how you get there.
I'm thinking just personal experience with reinvention of any kind.
Yeah.
How do you help people get past? It's I know a lot of it's going to be mindset. You know, it's all you helping people with their mind. But how about I almost just want to say like the ego, because really it's about their worry of what other people are going to say.
We don't have egos, do we, Paul?
I mean, I got a bad one, so.
Mine, I'll say previously, wouldn't fit in this room I'm in. Look, like I said, good Canadian boy, growing up playing hockey. Tough sport, getting in fights, this, that, and the other. And so I had a huge ego, and it really got in the way in a lot of areas of my life for the longest time. And it's only been probably the last, decade where I've started to get a handle and understand emotional intelligence. And that's been great learnings for me. It's lifelong learning. And as one of my teammates in the fighting and the Fight 10 Cancer we were in said, your ego is not your amigo. Mm-hmm. So we have to get that ego in check and understand it. Yeah, it's there for a reason and we can utilize it, but we can't allow ego to sabotage all the things that we're trying to do. And we always look at things from our perspective. We always hear things from our perspective, not from others, and how it maybe was shared. We have to get our head around the fact that feedback is a gift. We can do with it what we want, but it's a gift, and people are going to give you feedback. Interestingly enough, too, in the book, I share with people that you're going to go through humbling experiences, learn from them. That's very important. And I share openly in the book, not like I came along and I lit up the arena in fighting and things like that and so on. I got humbled really good. And there's a story in the book too that I share at my own expense. I got humbled really, really good in the ring one time and realized that my ego wasn't helping me. And I had to get control over that and control so that I didn't react, but I responded. And when we respond, it's because we took time to think and reflect. And then we moved forward. That's a skill set. So the interesting part is that we can rewire that brain of ours. And it's not maybe easy, but we can do it. I'm on stage sometimes. I'll share a quick story with you. Yeah. And I love to get people involved in what I'm doing. And I take to the stage and so on. I said, look, I want you to start rewiring your brain. They kind of look at me, rewire my brain. I'm an engineer and I can't do that. Well, you can. And you start by doing it by it's muscle memory. And your brain is a muscle. So when we work out, we get better at something. We develop that muscle memory. Your brain's the same. So I have them do this, Paul. And I don't know how many people wear a watch anymore. I love wearing a watch. Take your watch off. And you put it on
I got a cell phone.
So you take your watch off, you put it on the other wrist. And I have everybody do this. And it's funny because I'm getting better at it. That was pretty good. Most people fumble around and they, oh my God, this is weird. Why is it over here? That's really different. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do that every day for 21 days because it takes 21 days to break or form a habit. That's what we're told. So you have to stay with it. So I have them do that. And it's funny, partway through my talk then, I said, by the way, does anybody have the time down here? And everybody goes like this. And they go, oh, it's over on this one. the brain starts to rewire itself. And what we're doing is adapting our brain for change. So the next change that comes your way, you're better at it. You're more accepting to it. You embrace it more. You lead that change. So all these little habits add up to us getting better at change.
That's great. I really, really like that one.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's almost even more personal than it is just those general ones. But
Wow.
how does a man like you that is super, I don't even know the best word to describe it, because it's just you have a calming effect when you talk. So you seem pretty centered, grounded, kind, then jump into a ring and start fighting. How does that guy jump in there and do that? I mean, I know you played hockey, so it's in you, but still.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, because everybody thinks all hockey players have that, side to them, and that's not true at all. In fact, interestingly, in raising my two sons, you wonder how they came from you, how they could be so diversely different. So, well, they both played hockey. I said, yeah, I know, but one had that gumption and heart and grit, if you will, and the other one didn't have that side to him. Well, guess one actually went further, was the one who didn't have that side. He was so incredibly talented, didn't need that. How do you do that? Well, it's a mindset. It's really a mindset of controlling yourself and gaining it. Now, the interesting thing with a sport, it is a sport like fighting, is that you are learning techniques. And you are there learning techniques and methods, and that's what you're implying there. The people that have control over themselves are the ones that will be victorious at the end of the day. The ones who lose control and such won't be most effective. But that's really a matter of mindset as well. Come here, Rusty, say hi. Sorry, my dog's come in here.
Oh, feel free, yeah.
I'm not paying attention to everybody and what's going on, so hang on. I'll show you Rusty, my dog, for a minute here. Can I show Rusty? Where are you, Rusty? Rusty.
Oh.
There's Rusty.
What kind is she or he?
It's a he. He's a mix. He's got some beagle in him and some other dogs, and he's a rescue. So I picked up Rusty about a year and a half ago, and he's been a great companion here. And I took him out of a concrete kennel somewhere, and he's given him a better life. So that's awesome. Really enjoy that. So if you don't mind, I'll just give him some attention while we talk. But to answer the question, how you do that, it's really a mindset. So it's controlling yourself. And I learned over the last few years too, how to control that and program my mind depending on which state I'm in. No different than when I go on stage, if I've got a client visit and so on. Everybody has challenges they're going through. We need to learn to focus our mind, even if it's for a short period of time. And we used to have this saying, and I had somebody who used to attend the gym with me. And we'd talk on the way to the gym about all different things. As soon as we got to the gym, we told each other, nothing's going to change for the next 2 hours. So let's focus on what we're here for and really gain the benefit that we can. And that became very powerful in our minds going forward. So you can program yourself in a particular area to focus on when needed. Now, again, to everybody's different. I'm not expecting everybody to step into a ring and have a physical altercation with somebody, whether it's for charity or not. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm not bipolar or anything, but you can have different sides to you.
Yes,
you have different sides to you that you bring out at the right time when it's necessary. And I appreciate you saying that I have a calming voice. I never thought of that, but I do have many people tell me that, and that's nice to know. Whereas, quick story that I had some of my buddies from hockey that have played with me for 40 years come to this event. And it was a black tie event, gala event to raise money for cancer and so on. And, my one buddy kid had tried to break the ice with me before the bout for my challenge and my fight. Said, look, I'll be at the side. If you need me to hand you the folding chair, I'll slide it into the ring. This isn't WWF wrestling. I said, this is a sanctioned amateur bout at Olympic style and things. The interesting thing after my fight was the response that they had was the fact that, wow, we didn't expect that from you. And I said, okay, what didn't you expect? They said, your control. Your control in there, your mind control, physical control. Even when you got hit, you were in full control of yourself. And that's what we need to strive for. And it's not easy to do. It takes work, for our emotional intelligence to grasp that, to be able to improve ourselves. But the nice part is, which I love, we can do it. We can get better at it over time if we work on it. Understanding self and understanding others is what emotional intelligence is all about. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I have the ability to be calm completely in situations because I'm in control of myself, and then utilize different areas of yourself and your mind in the fighting ring. But the interesting part is, it's all the same. You're still in
Yeah.
control, doing it right.
How does that work in a relationship? Because you can say, I can control my mind, so I can control my emotion in a sense, right? Like I can at least mellow this out or keep it a little bit more calm. I mean, I'm assuming the woman in your life is like, I hate you right now.
Everybody hates me? What do you mean?
I mean, because you're going to be so good at it. I was like, while you were explaining that, I was just thinking like, oh man, if I was in an argument with you, I'm going to lose it.
Well, that's part of it too, is staying in control. But I'll tell you something openly with your audience, because I'm not above everybody else. I don't walk on water. Relationships are the toughest. Yeah. And we all have triggers. Learning what your triggers are so that you can respond instead of react and practice it is huge. It's not easy. I'm still not good at it. I'm still not where I want to be as far as relationships go, because I have triggers too, and they bubble up inside of me. You got to push them down and control them. You got to recognize them, but I have them too. And relationships will challenge you in the most way possible. When the kids were in their teenage years, they can be the absolute most challenging. And I know for people that are there like yourself, you have a young child at home. How old now?
He is going to be 4 on the 1st.
4, yeah. Going on 12, right?
Yeah, or 68, yeah. But
and you think, and everybody tells you, it's okay, it gets better. What doesn't get better? It gets different. It just, the challenges change based on their age. And this is the thing. And then you raise them, and you get one and the other, and they're so intelligent, and they know how to argue and manipulate and things like that. That only gets worse when they get older. Teenage years are really challenging, but you learn from it. And I will admit that through a lot of that, I think I became an even better negotiator because of my kids than my sales background. But the other thing was patience. I'll admit openly, my patience is much better because of that, because I had to learn patience because of change, because everything's not your way. You have to adapt and adjust to others as well. Take those as learnings for relationships. And I'm not saying I'm great at them now. You know, we still work on that our entire life. And I have my challenges and I have my triggers as well that I have to address, we'll say, in relationships. But the nice thing is keep working on it. Keep realizing that they're there. There's all sorts of books out there on emotional intelligence and things. Grab one and read it. I really benefited from it. It was a segment and a section when I was a facilitator for leaders that we did an entire day on emotional intelligence, identified possible triggers and how to work within them. That's what the learning's all about, Paul. And that's what my book's about too.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I just wanted to show the one area of the book which I really like people to read and read over twice is about fear, because we look at barriers that stop people from reinventing themselves, from doing whatever they need to punch through their own personal growth ceilings, to be the best person they can be, whatever it might be. It's usually fear. There's other excuses, money, timing's not right, blah, 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 and those are all garbage, by the way. Start where you stand, tools will come to you, everything you need will come to you. You know, it's the same, jump and the parachute will appear, it does, but you have to get over your fear to do it. And how we do that is, first off, we identify the fear. I have them write it in the book. What is your fear? I give you 4 choices. You can read the book and find out what they are. It's going to be one of them. I guarantee it. Figure out what your fear is, and then let's address it. Let's really pick it apart so we understand it. It's not going to go away, but we're going to really understand it. And then we're going to look at alternatives so that you can lessen the fear. And then the final thing is, we're going to take that energy that fear gives you and put it in the right direction so you're successful. Back to your original question regarding the ring. How do I step into a ring? Rocky, said in one of his movies, more recent one, the fact that those 3 steps to the ring are going to be the loneliest that you ever take. And I didn't know what he meant till I did it. You step up, you walk up those steps, and you're in the ring. I don't have a right winger. I don't have a goalie. I don't have anything at this point. It's just me in there. So is there fear involved? Yeah. But how you harness that fear is through knowledge. Get the best trained you can be. Be prepared as you can be. How do I get on stage in front of 1,000 people and speak? I get prepared. Am I scared? No. Am I excited? Yeah. Take that excited energy and utilize it because you've prepared yourself as best you can. that helps reduce and almost eliminate the fear that most people have. So that's a big sharing in the book.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us a lot today. And I'm actually really excited that you did share a little bit about relationships and pinpointing your trigger points in particular, because I think that at least like, I mean, I do a different type of coaching and consulting. It's a lot of business and working through like life, right? And reinvent yourself is so key, because I just knew like with the stuff that you are teaching people how to adapt and how to go through things, you innately then are teaching them how to deal with hardship, right? And innately how to deal with judgment and all these things. And in my world, every issue, I can tell you, whether it's a business issue or not, is always has to do with a relationship. Like it just always does. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought you would have some amazing tips, and you did. You had amazing tips.
I appreciate it. You know, it comes down to communication. There's a chart in here, and it chooses the 5 closest people to you and how you're going to communicate to them your reinvention and why you're doing it, so that you can communicate it very well and they understand it, and hopefully you gain their support as well. And then we look at possible barriers that are going to come your way. We write them down. You can predict most of them. So let's get ready for them. Let's not hide our head in the sand and go, oh, that won't happen. Yeah, you know it's going to happen. How are you going to handle it when it comes? You know, Leonardo da Vinci said, every obstacle yields to stern resolve. And it's true. So we have to get that resolve and be ready for it. See, the interesting thing is that change isn't painful. Resistance to change is painful. Yep. If we don't resist it, we get out in front of it and lead it, it can make all the difference in the world. Because remember, there's only 2 types of change, right, Paul? There's a change that we decide to do. We go, you know what, I'm going in this direction. We're held ourselves accountable for it. The tougher change is the one that comes our way that we didn't ask for. The one that was unexpected and we didn't know was coming. For everybody, it's COVID. That came our way and we went, wow, wasn't ready for that, didn't expect it. Okay, got it. But either way, whether you decided to change or change came your way, you need to create a plan and get out in front of it yourself and drive it to where you want it to be, because we know we're the architect of our future. Okay? Things don't happen to us, they happen for us. Figure it out.
I love it. Okay, well, guess what? It is that time. It is that time for the last question. Oh. And I like to sort of do full circle. We started in the beginning. We need to end in the same spot. So if that little boy was in front of you today, tell us a little bit about what you would tell him. Or would you tell him anything?
I would, definitely. And I tell this to a lot of other people too, because everybody I've spoken to that's gone through major change, reinvention, and so on, wishes they did it sooner, and so do I. There's nobody who says, oh, I should have waited another 10 years. No, do it now. I know it's not going to be easy and things. That's why I wrote the book, so it can help people do that. So that's really important. And if I were standing in front of myself and you know, I know maybe I come off extremely confident and so on, it wasn't always that way. You know, I had a typical upbringing, childhood and so on, and a lot of expectations, and maybe wasn't as confident as I appear now. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people are in that position because, listen, I understand right now, because people are feeling confused, maybe even lost. It's really been a difficult time the last few months. So I would say to that young Rick, in fact, I used to be called Ricky. So I'd say to Rick at the time, I'd look him right in the eye and make sure he understands that he's braver than he believes, stronger than he seems, and smarter than he thinks. And I say that to your viewers too.
That's awesome. Rick, I cannot thank you enough for everything that you shared today. It was amazing. Truly, it was.
No, thank you. Thank you for putting me in front of your audience. I hope they enjoyed it. You're going to tell them where they can get a hold of me if they want to have a chat anytime. I'm happy to.
That is exactly what I was going to ask you. Tell us, how do we follow you?
Oh, sure. You know, first off, if you want to grab a copy of the book, it's on Amazon, so you can jump on there and get it. You can also get it from my website along with my programs that I run and my coaching and just me. You can get on there and say, contact Rick, and I'll be happy to get back to them. And that's at www.rickdenley.com, RICKDENLEY.com. And happy to be on your show, Paul. Thank you so much for allowing me to share and meet your viewers. I'm sure they're spectacular.
They are. And thank you so much again. And all of you guys, we will see you next week. So we'll see you then. Bye.